Hi, and welcome back to Hook Eat Up. Today we're going to be focusing on a recipe that is perfect for an in-house date night. So it's going to be pretty nice on the presentation side, but simple enough for you to make at home. So this dish is the culmination of recipes that I featured throughout the month. What you're going to need for this recipe is extra virgin olive oil, salt and pepper, about 10 ounces of sea bass, or really any other fish that you want to use, but for this recipe I'm using sea bass. This is locally caught right out of the waters of Montauk. We went fishing with Four Seas charters and caught a boatload of sea bass. So I took a nice plump sea bass, filleted it out, and used it for this dish. You can also need a tablespoon of butter and the Pierre red pepper sauce puree. Doesn't have a name yet. I'm still waiting on you guys to give me a name. So by the time that this video features, hopefully we have a name for it. As you can see, there's already some slices cut right into the fish. Depending on the species of fish that you're preparing, the skin might curl up when it heats. So for sea bass, snapper, any fish that kind of has like a chewy kind of skin, you can expect it to curl up. If you don't know if it's gonna curl up, just make some slices right through the meat, right through the skin, and when you fry it, you're gonna see what technique we need to use to make sure it doesn't curl up. Because if it curls up, it looks really silly, it takes away from the presentation, and we're trying to avoid that. As the oil's heating, I'm just gonna hit the sea bass with salt and pepper on the skin side first. And it's the skin side that we're gonna cook immediately. So salt and pepper on the skin side. And now that our pan is nice and hot, I'm gonna add the butter directly to the oil and let that melt. So by adding the butter to the oil, what it's gonna do is two things. It's gonna add flavor to your dish, and it's also gonna prevent the butter from burning and browning too quickly. So once that starts to give off that nutty flavor that you get used to from butter, you're gonna wanna fry this. So you're gonna take the fillets and right to the oil, skin side down, in direct contact. And what you're gonna wanna do is press the fillets directly into the mix. Now you're gonna cook it on the side for about 2 to 3 minutes until the skin is crispy and brown. Making sure you keep pressure on it until you notice that it doesn't retract back up. Now that it's cooking on the skin side, once again, salt and pepper on the flesh side. So now that it's been cooking on the skin side for about 2 minutes, I'm gonna check to make sure the skin is nice and crispy before giving it a turn. I have the oven preheated to 350 degrees. Once I give the fish a turn, I'm gonna pop it into the oven for 5 minutes, and I'm also gonna bring my roasted broccoli into the oven to heat it so that it's ready to serve. So what you see here is the crispy side of the sea bass, nicely brown, holding firm, and showing off that nice black flesh. Into the oven we go. 5 minutes. So now that 5 minutes have passed, it's time for us to take the fish and the broccoli that was already pre-made out of the oven and arrange this dish. Grab the fish out. Put that over to the side here. Roasted broccoli. So now that I have my fish out and my pre-made roasted broccoli, I'm just gonna grab a plate. And with a large tablespoon, I'm gonna set 1 tablespoon right into the right corner and about a half. Then with the back of the spoon, I'm gonna give it a nice splash and arc down the side. So it's gonna look a little bit like half of a yin yang. The next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give this a nice stir. And then we're gonna just set the broccoli down in the arch of that splash there. Now, once we have all the broccoli down, there's gonna be a few nuts and raisins left. Just top that off there. And then with the fish, we're gonna take the larger of the fillets, set that across the top there. And then opposite of that, I'm gonna take the smaller fillet and kind of square it off. It gives the dish some height and a little bit of balance. And there you have it, a freshly caught sea bass with red pepper puree and roasted broccoli. Now you're gonna wanna pair this dish with a dry white wine like a Chardonnay. Now you wanna make sure that it's a dry wine because it doesn't have a lingering finish and it's not sweet. Since this already has sweet red peppers in it and raisins, drinking a sweet wine will take away from the flavor profile of the dish. Drinking a dry wine will add to the flavor profile of this dish. Now, I'm sure that this is gonna impress whoever you're cooking it for, so I hope it works out for you, that your date night is really special, and that you've enjoyed this recipe. Now, be sure to hit that like button if you like this recipe, subscribe, and check out the 2 videos that help you learn how to make this dish. We're gonna have the roasted red pepper puree and the roasted broccoli. Hope you enjoyed. Take care.